Our digs there uncovered a number of very interesting things, and I won't have time to talk about all of it. It's in the process of being published, and some of it I really can't talk about at this point. But this was a pit that was determined to be pre-Hasmonean, which means before the time of Christ. In it, there were a number of bowls and cooking pots. Some of them obviously were not from the Qumran area. This one was from Jerusalem. Interestingly, the head of archaeology for the Western Bank, which includes the Qumran area, is a rank liberal, and he has opposed the efforts here in every way possible. He published an article recently saying that the Qumran community had absolutely nothing to do with the scrolls, trying to diminish their religious significance, that this was just a pottery factory. Well, here are pots that didn't come from Qumran, and there are a number of other ways that that has been refuted as well. This was a large cooking pot, and it seems that, especially with ceremonies in anticipation of the Messiah, at various times during the year, they would have meals where they would bury the bones in the pots. And we found dozens of those. Also some coins which clearly date what is being found. One of the coins had Pilate's face and name inscribed on it, which obviously dates it to New Testament times. Some of them were just pre-Christian times. But a number of the bowls, as we suggested, had bones in them that were used to meal, probably goats and sheep that were raised there by the community. The significance of that is that these bones were collected for DNA analysis and then compared with the parchment, which is untanned sheepskin, which also underwent DNA analysis. And by comparing the two, we see this wasn't just a pottery factory. These were the ones who did manufacture the scrolls, contrary to the head of archaeology for that district. And that is in the process of being published. The difficulty there is he's the one from whom you must get future permits. So you don't want to insult the alligator while you're still in the swamp too much. But this is the truth, and it needs to be told, and it will be published within the coming months. We need to understand what is involved in the scrolls themselves. They break down this way. A good bit of it is just Jewish literature. I think it's very much analogous to what you would see if you look at my library today. Some of the liberals have said, well, some of these books in the community were the pseudo-apocryphal, these books that were not Scripture, but were kind of like Scripture, maybe claimed to be, but were false. And they had these in their library. Well, if you look in my library, you'll see a lot of garbage. You'll see maybe more evolution books than you see answers to evolution, because I need to know what they're saying. You see a wide variety of things. We don't know what the Qumran community thought about all of these. When we read of their religious devotion, I'm confident what they believed about many of them. But to say that they were in the library doesn't mean that they thought they were Scripture by any means. Many of them were just business transactions. The sectarian texts were related to their worship in the community. And the biblical books involved at least 200 manuscripts, 200 plus. Looking at the numbers, particularly of the biblical books, we see Genesis was one of the more popular ones. There were 24 copies of Genesis, and the oldest one was a copy of Genesis. Deuteronomy was also a very popular book.